this is Mary Harris from Paper Crow. I just got done making some accordion style pop-outs for junk journals, and I thought I would do a little tutorial. I'm going to show two different ways of making them, one with the fancy tools and one by hand with just a ruler. We'll start off by using a paper cutter scoring board and a bone folder to make the seams, and then we can get a little bit more rustic and use a regular ruler. First thing we need to do is grab some 12 by 12 paper. I have a couple of different books here that I've picked up a while back, so they probably don't make them anymore. But I'm just going to grab a couple of, I took some time to find what would match kind of the themes that I'm going for. So I'm going to pull a page from each of these. Not really trying to go matchy-matchy with each other, but apparently I have a similar color scheme in my head today. All right, so first thing we're going to cut this down. I need to cut the end off. This particular brand has a hole on the side, so I want to make sure that the paper is a true 12 by 12. And then I'm going to cut it in half so that I can I'll really be making 4 out of this one 12 by 12, 4 of the accordion folders. So I cut it down where there's 6. And then I'm going to switch, actually I'll cut this other one at the same time. All right, I've cut both pages at 6 inches. So we have 6 by 12. And now I want to get an angle in the cut. So if you have this kind of cutter, it's a little tricky and you're not going to get it perfect. But I try to go from 4 inches to 2 inches. So let's see if we can, we're going to put this end at 4 and try to do 2 inches at bottom. I'm not perfect at it with this. It's a little easier with the guillotine cutter, but in this case, if you were using a ruler, you probably would feel a little more confident, but it's pretty close just by eyeballing it. All right, I'm going to do the rest of these. If you have a guillotine style, I have to remove this protector here if I'm going to cut things at an angle because it keeps it from being able to turn, or at least pages this big. It's a little easier for me to see with this type because I can line up the 4. I can slide this all the way up in the cutting board and line the bottom up a little bit more easily with a 2. So I do end up feeling a little more confident when I make the cut. Doesn't mean they're better, I just feel more confident. All right, I have my 12 by 12 sheet here. It's just a plain piece of paper so you can see the marks that I'm going to make. First thing I'm going to do is put my line down to be able to cut this at 6 inches. If you just have a regular, like school 12-inch ruler, you can measure out 6 inches here, 6 inches here, and then use the ruler to draw a line. Right, we're going to measure out 2 inches and 4 inches on the opposite side. So if I was using a regular ruler, I would measure out 2 inches, mark it, and 4 inches. I guess I need to go a little lower here. 4 inches. And we're making a line. And just do the best you can to line them up. It doesn't have to be perfect. I would definitely make these lines in pencil if I wasn't trying to show you on the screen. But pencil doesn't show up very well if I take a video. So with scissors, I'm just going to follow the line and cut down. If you do have a paper cutter, it's faster and easier, but you don't have to invest in all the fancy tools if you don't want to. It just takes a little bit more time. I've accumulated all these tools over several years, so it's not like I went out and spent hundreds of dollars all at once. I definitely feel like the paper cutter was the best early investment in doing paper crafts, because getting straight lines when you're hand cutting is hard, and it's a lot of extra measuring and time consuming that way. Other stuff I don't mind doing by hand. All right, so we have accordion from that style and from this style of cutting. Pretty similar, not a significant difference in the angles. Now I have this little grid. It's not the fanciest, but I wrote out the measurements for folding the accordion so that the accordion will be lined up when you fold it together. So if I follow these measurements, I will have the ends match up, but still have room to put papers in between. So I have a little notebook of pages for writing in here. So I left a wider angle there. And then in this side, I just have a piece of paper for writing and some decorations that take up space, so it's not a tight fold doesn't work as well. You can do just a one fold. You have to be more mindful of what you put in it because it won't lay very well in your book. So the measurements here are, you probably can't read my writing. I'll flip it this way so I can read it. So it's 8 1/8, 7 7/8, 4, and 3 7/8. And this gives this a small fold and a big fold. And obviously it's going to be different for each one. It depends on what you want to be the wider fold. I like a wider fold in the front and a shallow fold in the back. But that's just my preference. So we're going to measure this out here. First, we'll do it by hand since I already have it set up that way. And then we'll move on to using the scoring board. So I have my plain one here. And this is a type of ruler, so I can use this. Or I can use a regular ruler. If you are going to invest in a ruler because it's cheaper to do it that way, get a clear ruler that you can see through. It's like $1. You can order it from Walmart or Temu. It's worth spending that. I mean, it's worth taking the time to find the clear one. It saves you a lot of frustration. So the first measurement is 3 7/8. So we're just going to set this up like this so you can see the numbers going across. All right, so we have 3 7/8 right here. And then we have 4. And we have 7 7/8. and 8 1/8. So you can see this is going to be a wider space here, shallower space here. We could flip-flop them depending on what you want. I'm going to do the same thing up a little bit. I'm going to measure them out so I can fold it evenly across. So we're going to make sure I have that lined up right. We're going to do 3 7/8, 4, 7 7/8, and 8 1/8. I think I'm going to actually just draw a full line. That is going to make it easier to find the line when I go to fold it. You can see why, if you're doing a bunch of these things, you end up buying a tool for it. Okay, so we have our lines on where we want to fold it. Now it's just a matter of patiently making the folds on the line. And just moving down. Luckily, making the pen marks does kind of put a little bit of a dent in it, so it's easy to find, or easier to find the line. If you don't have a bone folder, you can just use the side of a pen to make your fold. And we want to go opposite direction here. So I can see there's a little bit of a overlap there, but once I make that second fold, that's going to go away. We have to calculate all that in when you're making an accordion folder with depth. So see, it lines up when it's all put together and you have something in there to make that space fill up. Okay, now let me show you how easy it is with this scoring board. All right, we're going to use the scoring board this time. I just want to forewarn you that when you go to switch this from a cutter to a scoring board, be careful of this sharp little razor right here, because I wasn't. Anyway, I'm going to swap this out. I got to be careful I don't move too fast because I forget where my hands are, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, we are going to do the same measurements, but with the scoring board. So we'll be able to move through them much faster using this method. But same measurements. So we're going 3 7/8, 4, 7 7/8, and 8 1/8. And when it scores it, it puts it in a specific direction, but you can reverse it. Like if I want this to be the front, ooh, that looks pretty sharp. But it's not folding well because of how I scored it, because I scored it kind of in reverse. I can just go back. It's just that it will change the measurements a little bit. So actually I have to do it this way. So I just have to find the lines and then fold it the opposite way. And see how easy that folds? It's just, that's the beauty of a scoring board. Unfortunately, It's like 20, 25 bucks to get one. I suppose you could probably get a discounted one if you go on something like Temu. I think I got mine at Michael's. All right, I'm going to do the rest of these and we're just going to cruise through. Next, we're going to grab some 8.5 by 11 paper, and that's the American standard letter size. We're going to make the inside pieces for the flaps for when you open them up. And one of the fast ways to do that is to take a letter size paper and cut it in this case, no matter what, if we're cutting it in half, it's going to be small enough to fit in the folds without sticking out weird. I'm going to use this paper to cut the notebook paper. So first I'm going to cut it in half, which is actually, I did 3 inches before to be able to fit nicely in there. So I have to switch this back. So we're going to cut 3-inch strips. Now you can tear them if you want them to look fancy torn. And our widest spot is 6 inches. No, not 6 inches, 4 inches. Our widest angle is 4 inches, but really we're looking for the short end to decide. So for that back part, we want it to be about 2.5 inches. Because we're going to staple it onto this part, so we need it to fit here. So we're going, it's going to be here. We only want about 2.5 inches. So let me cut off one of these so you can kind of see. This is 2.5 inches by 3 inches, so it can fit on this inside piece and be stapled on. And then when you fold it this way, you can't see it. It's not going to stick up on that edge. So I'm going to cut myself a bunch of paper that's 3 by 2.5. We're going to staple paper in. Where there's a wide fold space, we can put a lot of paper, and if it's a narrow fold space, we only want to put a couple pieces so we don't bulk it out too much, because we're also going to put some bling on there to give it character. So I'm going to go through and staple pages into that middle section, the part that's going to face backwards. And you can do it you can do it either from the top or from the side. My stapler works best from the top on these things. Later, we're going to cover that staple, so don't worry about how pretty or perfect it is. Now that I have paper punched in there like a notebook, I want to put some angled paper in that will fit on these folds. Space for writing, but that doesn't bulk it up too much. So I'm going to use a half of one of these plain sheets to make the insert for in the folding sheet. So like this one would fit really well there. I have to keep in mind this is going to be glued to the back probably. I don't usually leave that flap. So if I have it in here like this, then when you fold it up, it's going to be there. So we want to cut it about at this length, which looks to be about 3.5 inches. So I'm just going to cut it at 3.5 inches. I could do it this way. Then when I go to put it in, it has a more finished look to it because it goes with the angle. And I can do the same thing for this. We'll just use the next piece. I'm going to cut off the fold that I put in here because I don't want that to show up. And then I'm going to give it 3.5 inches again. And then this one should fit nicely here and give it the same look on that side. So you don't have to change your measurements to make that work. You can just recycle the paper that you already have cut and left over. Now, if I want to make, say, another one on the inside here, I can just cut this down. I already have the right angle, so I can take maybe 3/4 of an inch off here if I want it there. If I want it on the inside here, then I'm just going to cut that top part. And all you have to do is measure. So this is like a little less than 2 inches, so I want it to be about 1.5 inches on that side. So I'm going to cut the folds off, and we want it to be about 1.5 inches on the short side. Actually, let's see how it fits on here so I can see what side I need to cut. I'm going to cut it from the wider side. So I'm going to take 1 inch off-ish. I can just cut it for that 3.5 that I did for the other part. So I can glue that in there, and that folds, you won't see it. I might want to take a little bit off. I think I'm going to take maybe another 1/4 inch off so it has more of a outline. There we go. I do when I glue them in, try to make sure that the distance at the bottom is the same. That might bug me. I'm going to take a little bit more off. Now I'm just being a perfectionist. I don't want it to be longer. There we go. That's better. So now we're going to glue those in. I'm going to cut one more up to fit my other style here so that I can, I'm going to cut one more up to fit in this so that I can make 2 of these so you can see the variety when you start to put them all together. I cut out some more angled pieces to fill in the rest of this second accordion folder, and we're gonna glue it on with Fabri-Tac or glitter glue. I try to remember to rub it in a little bit so it doesn't get all bumpy. Now, as I put this in, I am going to try to line up the bottom piece so that they run smoothly along the bottom and make a line. It's just my preference. Everybody is going to do it their own way, I guess. Now I fold it, it'll have those lines. And I'm going to put one here as well. Can be a little more free with this one. And I'm going to try to cover that staple on this side with my writing paper. All right, so we have that. You don't have to put paper on each fold, but it does give more room to write. This is going to fold out like this and like this. I think I'm going to save this space for putting some words in. A lot of times I'll leave this space for putting phrases in, so it's kind of a surprise when they open it up. All right, we're going to glue this one too. I'm going to glue down my lines as much as possible since I drew all over that one. I might not have made this one big enough to cover that staple. You know, when I'm making these videos, I have to resist the urge to mumble. I'm such a mumbler. I didn't realize until I started recording my artwork. I just mumble all the time. I'm going to glue this one on too. Try to line it up with that bottom part. It doesn't look too off kilter. Okay, it's a good start. Now we need to look for some art, some scraps that have images. I'm going for a collage kind of, I like to have them kind of overlap and stick up to be kind of part of the same image. You don't have to, but I like that look. So remember, this is what I'm going for. So I'm going to look for some images that look like they should be together. I have this book called Little Louie that I found secondhand. I try to find books that will give me images and words I can use in my art. It's a lot less expensive than some other options. So I have torn out a few ahead of time and found some material that matches. I've looked for some words. I found this image in a magazine. Here's some more from the Little Louie book. This one says, but there was one trick with the ball. Here's just a ball, which my dog loves. This actually looks a lot like my dog, which is why it attracted me. I also found some quotes from other books that kind of fit. Scratched behind the ear, and it's well worth watching. Look, look. Here's a tossed one that could go with the ball. We can always tear more out as we go, but I was thinking that this could be my my paper for my dog images. And I can stagger them like this. I could put some of these guys in the background, maybe, and have, let's make this a little bit more jagged and see how it looks. This is the fun part of the junk journaling to me, is making it into a collaged piece of art. I could even do 2 pieces from this and have them overlap. So if I have that coming up, and then these guys here, and then have Louis sticking up there. That kind of gives a little bit of a group dynamic. I could make him the front. Might be a little too much. Maybe like this. Ooh. Might be trying to put too much in there. Okay. Maybe I'll put this guy here and then these here. Decisions. Kind of like having the white one mixed in there. It's very appealing to me for some reason. Just like the alternating green and white. I've decided on a flow of the images I want. I'm going to have them zigzag back and forth between these 3 images. But I want to put some bundles together for behind them. But the goal will be to have the bundles kind of low. So when they stick in here, really the face shows, and this is just accent for behind it. So I'm going to use my stapler and take a couple of kind of opposing colors and staple them together. So then when I put them in, I'll glue the image over the top of that staple, and it just makes it a little more secure. But I'm not going to staple it directly to this because I don't want staples sticking out all over. It just makes for a little bit more secure than just plain old glue. So I've found a couple of bundles of paper that work for behind the images. I also have this fabric that I can add if I want it to be a little more 3-dimensional. So I'm going to staple where the fabric is. And then when I go to glue this on, it's going to stick out depending on where I kind of lay that image. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm actually going to put a piece of fabric underneath the ball. And we're going to, let's see how this will fit. So I want this to go kind of up. So I guess I'm going to have to, maybe not. Can that go behind? Yeah, that will work behind. Okay. All right, so I'm going to staple it sort of where the green is, so when I overlap it, it covers that. I think that will work. It might bug me, but we'll see. Okay, so we have our basic bundles, and I am going to put this guy in the very front. So he's going to be my front and center guy. First, I need to glue this bundle down, and I want to keep the bundle lower so it doesn't block out the images that will be behind it. I want to make sure I put glue around this staple. So we're keeping it low. He's going to be the one that peeks out. Maybe here. Luckily, this children's book paper can take a lot of glue without without putting smears through the paper. So I can be a little bit more generous with the glue that I can. All right, now he's gonna go back here, and I really only want this paper to go up towards the top. I don't want it to. It's more for when you open it. You don't necessarily have to see it really great here. And this guy's going to be here. So maybe I'll start in the back, and then when I fold it, I won't accidentally cover something up that I don't want to cover up. Might be a bit too much. I'm going to take a little of this bottom off. I want to make sure. Yeah, I don't want the ball to show. I'm definitely going to put that a little bit lower or further over. Or do I want to flip it? Maybe I'll flip it. Yeah, I like that better. Oh, yeah. It does. That'll work. Okay, so we're going to glue this down. I do tend to leave the edges unglued because I like it to kind of stick out a little bit or look a little bit loose and frayed. I don't want it to be just totally solid. Okay. And now if I glue him or them here, I think that'll look pretty good. All right, I'm going to go for it. All right, now this guy, make sure I don't block all my dogs here. Keep hitting that camera. Sorry if I'm making you seasick. I'm going to glue this piece on. Keep that red towards the top. It does work a lot better if you put that back one down first. starting to come together here. Now I just have to look for words that will be fitting. I'll make sure he shows up enough. There. Ooh. So we could do look, look. And then on the inside, we could do it's well worth watching. Could put something in. Oh, we have this little guy too for somewhere in there if we want. We could just put another image in here with, yeah, there we go. Okay. So let's get the look on there first. Oh, he's looking cute. I'm glad we found a use for this guy because he's super cute. I love him. I don't know why in our family we refer to dogs as he's and cats as she's. I don't know if other people do that. I'm sure it just comes from us always having certain genders. We always tend to get girl cats because we don't want the spraying. Ooh, I got a little bit of something there. I'm going to have to cover that up. Okay, so he's going to open like this. Oh, look at that. That doesn't even necessarily need anything more. The last thing I want to do is cover this staple here. I have some of this fabric, and I did find this word that kind of goes along with the balls that are all over. So I think I'm going to put these two together. I just want to make sure that this staple stays covered, so I'm going to put glue around that. And it's probably going to seep through a little bit because I put a lot, but I'm going to stick this word over it anyway. So. All right, now we have our puppy one done. Set that aside, and I'm going to take all these extra doggy images and take them out of here. The next one I want to do, I want to use some older sort of vintage images. I ripped some images out of a magazine that I found. So I have a bunch to work with here. This is my favorite thing to do, is to go for some older feminine, like overly exaggerated feminine images, and then put words that kind of talk about what it's like now to be a woman. All right. This is just random dude images. I don't know if I need that. I also have some pre-made bundles that I had put together in a mass make that I thought might be useful, but we'll see when we go to put it together. So let's see. First, I got to figure out which ones I want to go together. These kind of have a similar feel. We have the kids. They kind of go together. That one kind of goes with that. This is more of a mom thing. This one, that could be with that one. Okay, let's see what it gives me the most inspiration. We could do a mom and a kid and another kid. And then use this one on the inside. That could be really cute with some like words of wisdom or something in there. Or we could use this sort of a collage look. I think I'm gonna go with the girls. I'll set these aside. That'll be another one for another day. All right, so we have our girls. I don't know if these bundles will really fit. That one could. It's got a little bit of a little kid look to it. Maybe not there. Maybe not. Might be too much. This could be with the mom. Got this sort of like family vibe. That could work. I don't know, might be a bit much. The colors don't necessarily go with it really well. This one could work. I guess that's got to be on this side. That one actually isn't too bad. It kind of goes with the color scheme. And then if we have this girl and this girl, maybe I'll swap them and have the younger girl here. I can fit more of their body that way. And just kind of rip this part off. That could work. I just got to figure out what I want behind them. I have some scraps here. I found a few pink papers that I think I can use to kind of jazz this up. I have some sort of pre-made bundles that I put together before, or you could layer some stuff up. I have some girlish things. I think I need to kind of rip this to get an idea of how much I want to be in the image. I'd like a little overlap on the top, but not too much on the bottom because it'll just get snagged on things. So it needs a little bit something else. That's going to be too much. I think maybe if I inked it, it would look a little bit better. I think if I add some black paper and some lace to it, it'll make this kind of pop a little bit more from that busy background. I don't know if I'm making a mistake or not, but we're going to try it. First, I'm going to use some Fabri-Tac to glue this lace on. Just along the edge here. And then we'll glue these pieces together. I glued the black on. Now I'm going to glue it to the front of my fold here. I think if I put her there, or maybe a little bit more of the pink to, yeah, I'm going to put her at a little bit of an angle. I think my bottle tip's starting to get a little clogged. Okay. I'll set her aside for now and do the back so I can make sure that they all overlap the way I want them to. I think maybe one of these will work better. Maybe I'll go with a common color scheme here. And then when they open, they'll go together well. Or this one, maybe. This one's already kind of put together. Ooh, I'm gonna need a staple on that side so I can cover it. I'm gonna actually take these words off because it doesn't make any sense for my theme here. Oh, that might be a little too far over. Let's see. It's not too bad. I always rip some of that pink off if it's in the way. That works. Okay. Oof. Start by gluing this part down. Make sure that it will fit in that fold. And then this one, we want to make sure it covers the staple, but also will poke out of the fold enough. We may have to rip some of that off, but I'll get the other piece in there first before I decide. Okay, so we're going to have her peeking out here. So we can use some of this. Add that pink in. And maybe a little bit of black in there. Oh yeah, that's the ticket. Now am I gonna get this all perfect? Probably not, so I'm gonna use a stapler so it stays in place. Okay. Ooh, got a bit of a glob there. Gotta kind of line it up or I'm gonna forget where I had it. Alright, now we'll put her in. The last piece will be looking for some words that are inspiring or give it a little bit of interest. Oh, a little lower. I don't want her head to get ripped off. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry a little bit. Now, I need a word here for sure, or phrase. This is a puppy phrase, we'll move that over. Let's see, I have, I'll catch up soon enough, grow, I have a mommy. This is, wouldn't it be fun? Settling back with a little smile. I also have this to kind of add to that front page. So maybe a wouldn't it be fun? And then have the mom. Yeah, I'm gonna rip a little bit of that off. So I don't want it to stick up and get in the way and block other things. Oh, I like it. Okay. The words might not be the best, but I'm going to go for it. There we go. Now we just need some words for this inside section. For the front, we could just put the mommy one there, or I'll catch up soon enough. I like that one. Catch up soon enough. There we go. And we could put the grow one in here, maybe over that number for, I think that it's originally an ad for a pattern, so it's got the pattern number on there. We don't need that. And I think just having something here, this is kind of a weird little image. What could we put there that would add a little something? That one doesn't really fit. I wonder if I have like a one word experiments. That'd be funny. That's why, maybe that's why. No, but that's what I want to be. Began to cry. Great. Whoa. Old and gentle. I have some really weird quotes in here. Miracles. Don't swim in it. That's kind of funny. Maybe not. Hold on. I'll be right back. I found a few word phrasings that kind of fit. This one is, dear, you don't look like your old self. Aren't you happy? I have, oh, well, or, oh, angel, you get prettier every day. And don't let yourself slip. Good grooming is a must, and especially with your husband and family. I kind of like the aging of how we feel about ourselves. You know, we want to grow up so fast, and then we do. We don't want the life we're kind of thrown into. So I'm going to just put these on some black background to give it an edge. Just to make it punch out more from the rest of the page. I kind of already put a little bit of an edge on that one. I'm going to put the our dear, you don't look like your old self in here with the toilet cleaning, because it seems most fitting. And then we'll put the, oh, angel, you get prettier every day here. Kind of blends this in. And I'm actually going to put the bigger one on part of the fold out that doesn't have writing space. So when we open this out, this one's still blank, so I'm going to put the grooming thing, don't let yourself go. I think I'm going to put it over on this side, and then I guess there is space to write, but maybe I'll go up just a little bit so it kind of covers that spot. I feel like I need something there because it's kind of funky. Maybe some lace. I don't really have a good peachy lace, but I do have some somewhat transparent pink lace. I'm just gonna cut the end off a bit. I just want a little piece. I think I can kind of go over it and it will make it not as obvious that there's kind of a glue thing going on. But when I fold it, it's not too bad. It'll have just like a little bit of a flare to it. We'll see. Hopefully I don't make it worse. It is possible to over design for sure. Spread that on. Now my goal is just to try to cover up this part where I got a little bit of glue in a weird spot. And I can cut off anything that's like overextending too much. Like this stringiness, you can just cut that off so it's not blocking other things. There we go. We've got our layers. Now if I want to make more of a distinct line, I could ink the edges here and make more of a line, but I think I like it the way it is. There we go. So then when it goes into a book, I'm going to open my trusty little sample book here and find a boring page. All right, so if I put it on a page, it's going to fold out this way or open this way, and it stays secured on that back part. Same with this. It's here, it's glued in, it opens this way, or it can open this way. It adds so much personality to the page. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have as much fun as I did making your creations.